Matt and Kyle from Kentucky Go Digital, they just brought so much passion. I was like, oh my gosh, they are my spirit teachers. So I love being able to work with them. So student engagement. So some stuff about myself. My name is Brian Morrison. I am married to Tiffany Morrison. She's a gifted teacher in JCPS. We have a daughter, Peyton. She's a second grader at Eisenhower. Eisenhower's doing great things too. I just watched Miss Cullen. If you did not watch her, definitely go check her out. Some things about me. I love talking math, and I love having kids talk about math. And I know during NTI, it's difficult to have kids talk about math. So that's something I still think about every day is if they're not in a small group, how are they going to talk about math? And that's something I'm still trying to wrap around because I know we lost a couple of resources because of permissions and stuff, but we'll get through that. Some stuff about me is I went to U of L. I got my bachelor's of science in education. I'm a huge Cubs fan. I am a fifth grade teacher at Medora. And one big important thing about my classroom is the class rug. Having that no barrier zone where kids are equal to the teacher is crucial to building relationships and for them even caring about what I say. Without that rug, we're just all separated by tables, desk. I love the rug. And basically our little morning meetings that we're going to do during NTI 2.0 is going to be like our rug time. So any questions about that? All right. So my mindset is this time, Miss Monet does a really good job. She says we can change the world. And then Steve Jobs at the bottom says think different. We're making history, as Denise Gibbons says 20 times in every presentation, is we're making history right now. So how are we changing the world for the better? Rita Pearson, amazing. If you've never watched her TED Talk, kids aren't going to listen to anyone that they don't like. So we have to spend, like Ms. Cullen said, the first couple of weeks just building those relationships. Do fun, engaging activities. I'm going to give some ideals, but guess what? If you don't make them feel wanted, they're not going to come to our Google Meets. So spend some time in those first couple of weeks, build those relationships. They're crucial. And then the great Maya Angelou, again, they're going to forget some of the stuff we did, but they're never going to forget how we made them feel during this time. So social emotional learning is crucial. And I know some upcoming sessions are going to be about building relationships virtually. So can't wait to watch those. All right, so a couple things about me is I love to build relationships with kids. First thing is once I got my class list, I'm starting to think about who I'm calling first. Make those phone calls. They're free to do. Send a postcard. I'm going to show you an example later on about a postcard that I'm sending out to all my kids. It's from the Facebook group Bitmoji or Bitmoji Craze for Educators. And it's a Where's Mr. Morrison postcard. And I was like, that is super cool. I didn't have to create it. I just had to draw my Bitmoji on it. Shout out boards are something I like to do, especially if you saw Miss Cullen's jam boards where she made numbers. I would take one of those kids and say, wow, that is an amazing thing. It just makes kids feel like you appreciate their thought. If you have not made a Bitmoji classroom, I know there's sessions on that. Kids love Bitmojis because they can click on the interactive links and they get to learn more about you. If you have never gave personalized feedback using Screencastify, I highly recommend it. Kids love seeing your face when you're talking to them. It's like being in a one-on-one meeting and they can see your face. The one thing I worry about is if we give them too many Google Forms. A Google form, I feel that we may be going to is just another worksheet. That's just my personal preference. Like if we can alternate between a form and a slide, that'd be amazing. But that's just me. All right. So a couple things I did last year to build these personalized experiences is Flat Morrison. He has his own Instagram account. And what I did is I sent myself to a bunch of kids, like a Flat Stanley. And then they would send me a picture and then I just give them a shout out on Instagram. The kids loved it. On this one, a girl made frozen dog trees. And she's like, hey, Miss Morrison, can you give me a shout out? I'm like, yeah, definitely. Another thing, instead of doing that Google form on getting to know your kids, I have a great team member, Ashley. She was like, Brian, I have this agree or disagree for math. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can look at how you're thinking. And then when I pull a small group, I say, hey, so you believe you're a good math student. Why do you think that? And just work and have those conversations, but actually paying attention. Don't just use it as a time killer. Actually use that feedback and instruct your teaching. I have an amazing PLN, Crystal. She was like, Brian, would you want to do a hydro flask with your kids to get to know them? I'm like, heck yeah. So this is a great Google Slides presentation. Basically, they already have the stickers, so the kids just decorate their hydro flask using stickers already made for them. So that's another way that kids can uh, show you what they're like, and you can learn about them. Uh, I know one of the greatest things about NTI is I have not heard a hydro flask hit the ground in over 160 days, and that makes me super excited. Virtual cubbies. It's kind of like a virtual classroom. If you have advanced kids, they might be able to make one themselves, but it's just the same thing as like an About Me bag. I love to make About Me stuff, so that's my virtual cubby that I made. Again, go Cubbies, and yep. So one big thing is always try to mix up your experiences for your kids. I'm pretty sure Maddie Shepard did a session on the SAMR model. SAMR has been a game changer for me. My old principal, Mr. Russell, loved to tell us that a worksheet is still just a worksheet if it's just digitally made. So making it a little more difficult is what engages my kids. So make them create something automatically is going to be like, wow. If they send it to somebody, that improves it even more. So if you have not ever learned about the SAMR model, you can take one thing, make it so much more difficult. And I know our choice board, the JCPS choice board, has a lot of good things. And in your choice boards, definitely listen to their interests. Last year, I had a kid that hated math, but he looked at the 3-point shooting for the NBA and learned how to compare decimals that way. And he did amazing. He grew like 20 points on the math test. So just finding their interest, find things that will engage them is super important, especially during NTI and distant learning.
Brian, you're hitting on all cylinders here. It's we need to get you on our team showing the SAMR model, and that is like our mantra around on our team is student creation, student creation, student creation. So
thank you. So, a couple of things about me is I love to use green screen. It is very difficult for kids to use green screen because what I use an app called Do Ink. It's a $5 app on my phone. And basically, I have a green bed sheet that I bought on Amazon, and I have green sheets once a month. But it literally sets the stage. So we're about to start volume in math. I'm going to put myself in a green screen fish tank, hold up little cubes, and hey, if this fish tank is 3 feet by 2 feet by 4 feet, how many of these little 1 foot cubes can I hold up? So kids are like super engaged because they're like, wow, Mr. Morrison is literally in a fish tank. One of my intro videos, I dressed up as Darth Vader. Again, every kid loves it. No kids ever like, oh, Mr. Morrison, we hate your green screen. Last year, when we did the American Revolution, we went to State Street, and the kids made little presentations on construction paper and little clip art people, and they just had to retell what they believed happened during the Boston Massacre. They reenacted it with little clip art people, and we just put it on a green construction paper and used green popsicle sticks, and they moved their people and talked. It was super cute. One of my favorite lessons every year is designing a classroom. I know Ms. Barker and Fink, they design a classroom. I design a classroom using decimals. They have to basically build a classroom using Target, Walmart, Home Depot, and design a classroom for one of 4 scenarios. It's the easiest way to teach them decimals. Well, the funniest thing is when you take a picture of the classroom, you can put yourself in their classroom or in their room or whatever. So I put myself in the chair, and I just made a little video of myself waving on the rocking chair. The kids died laughing. Again, we are not at a beach because some people don't believe we should be traveling during this time, which I highly agree. But guess what? I had a video from spring break 2 years ago. That was my backdrop for my introduction video. So kids loved it. And you're like, Mr. Morrison, this is way too hard to do. I am not very good at technology. Do Ink is probably one of the simplest apps to use. Basically, I took a picture of my Google Classroom and I recorded a video of myself in front of it, and I just put them on top of each other, and it automatically takes out the green, and I have my video. It's super easy, and then I just export it, and it's automatically saved onto my phone. It is one of the most simplest apps I've ever used, and there's more things you can do. If you don't have a green screen, you just have a blue sheet, they can do a blue sheet too. Red, they have a red color too. Yellow normally makes you invisible. So I would stick to the blue and green, maybe red. iMovie, if you're like Mr. Morrison, I do not want to spend any money. And I was like, hey, $5, that's literally a Starbucks cup. I drank some K-Cup that Tiffany had, and I was like, hey, I saved $5. I can afford my app one time. iMovie also has it. It is not as easy. There's probably a great YouTube video series that you can watch, but it's the same thing. Is you just record a video, have a green screen, and it takes out the green, but it has a lot less options than the Do Ink app. And again, the Do Ink just helps me make a simple video really quick, and it literally hooks the kids, and they're like, wow, something's wrong with Mr. Morrison. But they love it. I hope they do. At least they tell me they do. All right, what's up next? All right, so this is one of the hardest things I know when we start thinking about FERPA and PII, because again, I used everything in the world to try to assess kids. I used Flipgrid, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, now we can't use that. So what am I going to do to assess my kids in a fun and engaging way? That's not just a Google sheet. It's not just a Google slide. It's not a Google form. It's something fun. Kahoot still, I believe, is approved. I hope it is, and it's not disappeared. But Kahoot is just a quick thing you can do in a Google Meet. It's a quick game. Tiffany was like, Brian, you need to get on Nearpod. And I was like, well, and one day I learned how to be a distant learning expert. I'm not an expert. I just know how to use Nearpod a little bit better than I did before. But they have a badge system. They have a great YouTube series. I am probably going to use the Nearpod a lot more. They have a free version and a paid version. Right now, I'm just using the free version. Peyton last year used Boom cards. I've never actually used Boom cards, but I saw that they were approved. So she kind of liked them. So we'll see how that goes. Again, what's going to happen? I don't know. All right, so I want you guys to think differently, because I love to think outside the box and change. How can we change the game? Because this is a time where we're not going to have worksheets to go to the teacher's lounge and copy. So let's think differently. So one of these equations came from a second grade assignment. So solve for E in the equation. E equals F plus 2B if 2B equals 8, B plus D equals 11, or F minus D equals 3. And you're like, what, Brian? Second grade cannot do that. And I bet you we can, because here we go. Because I was like, Peyton, what do you think the answer is going to be? So there is an amazing website that uses these, and this is how I do my number talks during NTI 1. I probably do NTI 2.0, but it's solvemoji.com, and it literally can give you a picture, and it's like bunny plus bunny equals 8. So you're like, I wonder what bunny is. If bunny has to be the same thing, it's 4. And I don't know about you, sometimes in math, the only reason why I'm teaching it is to solve Facebook memes that people post out, because order of operations, I've yet to have someone walk up to me in Kroger's and say, Brian, what's 2 times 3 plus 4? No one ever does that. But they will ask you on Facebook to solve a Facebook meme. Higher math, you probably need order of operations, but in my belief, 5th grade has never needed it. But they love to solve this. And if you're still thinking, the answer is 18, because 2 bunnies equals 4, and the frog equals 10. But again, think about that. Second graders can do this, and they have easier, and they have a whole lot harder. And again, how can we engage our families? Drop one of these, ask parents to try to solve it. They loved it. Another thing I love to do is make interactive slides. OPA is a made-up name. We have that book when we had Peyton 8 years ago, in 10,000 different names. So I just put a random name because everyone knows when we take standardized tests that they have some of the most unique names in the world that always trip up our kids. So what I do is, that's how I make my story problems, is I pick a name out of the 10,000 names, and that's what pops up. So if your name's Oprah, welcome to my class. But in this example is kids actually have to spend, and what they do is making change. And you're like, Brian, that seems super easy. I'm guaranteeing that if I put this in a Google form, every kid in my class would put $3.60 or 67 cents as the change, because they don't know how to subtract decimals. But moving these interactive money, they can move the $1 each time, and the dollars will actually move. And if you save the background as a picture, they're always there. And normally I'll put like 5 or 10 or 15 $1 bills in each of the coins, so they literally can just move the money over. And that's how they make change. And then they put their answer in the green box. It's super easy to grade. It's so much more interactive than a Google form. And that's just a personal preference. That Bitmoji group on Facebook, people have created Google Docs with tons of different Bitmojis. So again, using diversity in your problem. So use females, use males, use kids, use whatever you want, but don't just put yourself every single time. Because again, nobody wants to see your Bitmoji. People like to see other people. And again, my name's not Oprah, and I'm not buying a trampoline for $42.67. All right, so one of the things that is controversial is social media. I love social media because I utilize it when I app smash. And you're like, what's app smashing? Basically, it's taking highlights of certain apps and using it for different things. So, for example, Snapchat. If you have never downloaded Snapchat, I love to use Snapchat filters. There's a one where you can make yourself a baby. Guess what? Make an introduction video of yourself as a baby. Every kid is listening to you for that 8 minutes. Or please don't make an 8-minute video. That 30-second snippet, 1-minute snippet. But they're super engaged because they're like, wow, Mr. Morrison as a baby, this is hilarious. If you've never seen what a book snap is, basically, I read a lot of my books digitally. You screenshot it, put your Bitmoji, and it's like, wow, look at this sentence. So it's just highlighting a part of a book. And then you can make your Bitmoji dance on Snapchat, save that video, put it in your Google Classroom, and then you have a dancing video. Super cool. Then the Bitmoji social media. If you do not have an interactive classroom, I know Miss Colin has one of the best interactive classrooms. Toy Theater, like she was saying, is something I use almost every day. It's a great way to use math manipulatives, and it adds flair to your presentations. I dislike, more than anything, just a white and black Google slide presentation because it's like an old PowerPoint in a business meeting. Nobody wants to watch that, especially kids. They want to see some happiness. And you're like, Brian, you saying TikTok? Well, right now we still can TikTok, and we don't know how long that's going to be, but they have some great filters that you can use too, that you can edit videos. Kids are on Snap or TikTok. They shouldn't be, but that's a whole different issue. But I love just dance, make a silly video like, hey guys, join the Google Meet. We're going to have a dance party today. I made that on TikTok. That's probably my most attended Google Meet session last time. And here's my postcard that I'm sending to all my kids. It's where's Mr. Morrison? So people have already created these templates for you, and then you just find yourself or put your Bitmoji in, send that to kids. They absolutely love looking for you. And here I am right here if you were looking for me. And if I just spoiled that, I'm so sorry. So in conclusion, this is a magical year. We've never had an NTI 2.0. We've never had a virus that took us out of school this long. But let's make magic. Let's change the game. It's our time to change the way we think. Again, flipped classrooms are something I've been doing all last year and the year before, and that's helped me transition to this NTI. So if you're like, if there's one thing you learned about NTI is the flipped classroom design, that's super important. But again, if you ever want to follow anything I'm doing on Twitter, I'm at Morrison's Class. And if you want to follow Morrison's journey this year, I'm on Instagram at Flat Morrison, and always use the hashtag JCPS dig in because we have a lot of creative teachers in JCPS that like to shout out using that. And that's where I get a lot of my stuff. That's how I found Miss Colin. Again, she's a superstar. So I believe that is it. If anyone has anything. All right, let's see.
Brian,
Yes, ma'am.
you did an awesome job. You're getting a lot of love in the chat. spectacular as always. I think Jack's going to pull up your green screen video where you're talking about the tour of your Google Classroom. Awesome.
All right, let's see if it plays.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mr. Morrison, and I am your teacher this year, and I am ready to take you on a tour of your Google Classroom. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
So again, this video only took 10 seconds to make. Once our classrooms get auto-populated, I'll probably actually walk through. But just harnessing my Matt and Kyle is, you're a salesman. We're in art. We have to engage our kids. Our kids watch 15-second TikTok videos. So how are we going to engage our kids? That was my motivation behind that video. So.
Well, Brian, we're flattered. I must say that Matt was my inspiration. So it's funny how that works out. And I'll tell you that I'm in full agreement, man. I remember, now it's been a bit since I was in the lab setting, but thinking about how I had to compete with cat videos on YouTube. So yeah, with the advent of TikTok and other mediums, I'm with you on that. And I think you're right, man. If you can't keep the kiddos engaged, what are we doing? How are they going to learn? And you're doing a great job of that using these digital tools and resources. So again, man, thanks for being here. And thank you for all the love. If you guys missed the Kentucky Go Digital event Brian's referencing, me and Matt were just a couple of hands, but there was really good content. So you can check that out. What they recorded and uploaded it. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love how you said, and now, Brian, how many years in JCPS have you been with us now?
This is my 15th year.
15th year. That's awesome. So again, much inspiration. I heard you mention earlier, you said something about there. You said, well, I'm not really good with technology. And, sometimes we hear that when we're out, and it's great that you're still out there pushing and helping to grow that, especially during NTI, right? Everybody's getting good at it, aren't they?
Oh, definitely. That is correct. I literally just got two push pins, stuck it on the wall, and 10 seconds I had a video. So just dropping them. It's really super simple. It's a great app.
Question. What kind of device? Yeah.
Basically, I have an iPhone, but you can do it on an iPad, but I just do it on my phone because it's a lot more portable than my iPad. So, but yeah, and then they're just automatically saved onto your phone.
Jack, we can't hear you on the channel side.
It gets echoey when I do that, so sorry. But that's just we'll just have to deal with a little echo for a few minutes. But thank you, Heather, for telling me that. But what I was saying is, it just amazes me the quality that you're getting out of using something like DoInk and your phone, and how easy that is. And everybody's got a smartphone, so there's no limit there, or no reason that you can't be doing that.
No. $5 is a Starbucks cup of coffee. So go one day without my Starbucks, just use a K-cup, and it's a great trade-off. One-time fee, $5.
Absolutely, man. And you said, is it all one word, D-O-I-N-K, or?
Yes, it's D-O-I-N-K, and it's like a green octopus.
Okay.
So, or it's a pink octopus with a green background. But it's a great app to use. And they have a great Twitter following. So if you follow them on Twitter, there's so many people that have used it. And that's where I get some of my inspiration.
So, Brian, one of the things that somebody brought up in the chat was, and I'm just going to make an assumption here, but they said they really love all this, but it seems very time consuming. Do you have any, can you give people an idea, like you made that 10, I think it was 10 seconds or whatever. how are you balancing all of your creativity with other duties like grading things and attendance and just the day in and day out stuff of teaching?
That's tough. I spend maybe 20 minutes a day just with the grading, because again, if you do a Google Classroom, has probably been the greatest way to grade something. Is with those slide presentations, I can grade them. With 30 kids in my class, it takes me about 15 minutes straight because it's super easy to grade. But a minute investment on a green screen video that's going to engage kids and teach them something, I'm willing to make that 1 minute. Do I spend all my day sitting in front of a computer? No. That'd be horrible. But once you get a good template going, I just utilize it over and over and over again. Like the money thing is, I just have a template and I change the Bitmoji out and I change the story prompt out. It looks like it takes a long time. It takes like 5 minutes to make, and I can use that repeatedly on different